Hello and welcome. It's good to be here with you today, talking about something that isn't always easy, but is deeply important for happiness in the later years, our long-term relationships. Marriage is a journey, isn't it? It changes and evolves over decades. You navigate raising families, building careers, facing challenges, celebrating joys. And as you enter the later chapters, retirement, perhaps dealing with health changes, the kids are grown and gone. You suddenly find yourselves spending more time together than ever before. You might think after all those years, you know everything about each other and smooth sailing is guaranteed. But sometimes, for many women, these later years can bring a quiet, uncomfortable feeling to the surface. Resentment. It's a feeling that often builds silently, little by little, perhaps over years or even decades, but can become much more apparent and impactful when couples are spending more time in close proximity. The common assumption is that if a marriage has lasted this long, it must be perfect, or at least perfectly settled. But the reality is that the dynamics shift, expectations that were perhaps unspoken become more visible, and unresolved issues can fester. This isn't about falling out of love. It's about the accumulation of unmet needs, unequal burdens, or feeling unseen after years together. Based on my own experiences, my observations of friends' marriages, and the wisdom shared among women who have navigated these waters, I want to talk candidly today about 7 common reasons women can develop resentment towards their husbands as they age. More importantly, we'll discuss how to identify these reasons and, crucially, how to start fixing them. My hope is that by bringing these often hidden feelings into the light and offering practical, empathetic strategies, we can help couples understand each other better, address the root causes of resentment, and foster deeper connection, appreciation, and harmony in these valuable later years. Recognizing these patterns isn't about casting blame. It's about gaining clarity and finding a path forward together. This isn't just theory. These are insights born from lived experience. Stay with me through all 7 points, because understanding them is key to transforming potential conflict into renewed connection. Ready to explore these delicate but important dynamics? Let's begin with a reason that often involves the practicalities of daily life. Reason 1. The unequal burden of daily life and caregiving. This is perhaps one of the most frequent sources of unspoken resentment, building quietly over decades and often becoming glaringly obvious in retirement. For many couples married for a long time, traditional roles may have meant the wife handled the majority of household chores, meal preparation, and family errands, even if she also worked. When retirement arrives, the husband may be home more, but the ingrained habit of the wife managing the domestic sphere often persists, or even increases as there's more time at home. Added to this is the potential for caregiving responsibilities, either for aging parents earlier on or for each other as health needs arise. The physical and mental load of managing appointments, medications, personal care, and household tasks often disproportionately falls on the wife. Resentment builds when the woman feels she's still carrying the weight of running the household or managing care needs largely on her own, while her husband is perceived as having more leisure time or not fully recognizing the effort involved. It's the feeling of being a full-time manager and caregiver without a true partner sharing the load, leading to exhaustion and a sense of unfairness. Over years, this can feel like her contributions are invisible or undervalued. Imagine Mrs. Gable, who spent her working years juggling career, kids, and home. Now retired, she expected more partnership. Instead, her husband reads the paper or pursues hobbies while she still does all the laundry, cooking, cleaning, and now manages his doctor appointments too. The resentment festers because the promised shared freedom of retirement hasn't materialized in the division of labor. The implication is that expectations about roles, especially around household tasks and caregiving, need conscious renegotiation as life stages change. What worked or was tolerated when juggling jobs and kids may become unsustainable and deeply unfair when that structure changes. This requires open, direct, and non-blaming communication. Women need to articulate their feelings. I feel overwhelmed by the amount of chores, and the need for more equitable partnership. I need us to share responsibilities for the house. Husbands need to truly listen and recognize the unseen labor. Couples can make a list of all household and caregiving tasks and consciously divide them based on capability and fairness, not tradition. Regularly checking in and renegotiating as needs change is vital. Appreciation for contributions, no matter how small, goes a long way. The fix lies in seeing daily life as a shared project requiring mutual effort and appreciation. Reason 2. A deepening lack of emotional intimacy. After decades together, the initial passion and intense focus on getting to know each other might naturally evolve. However, for some women, aging can highlight a growing chasm in emotional connection. Life's later years bring unique emotional landscapes. Processing loss, navigating identity changes post-retirement, confronting health anxieties. Women often crave deeper emotional support, validation, and the feeling of being truly understood by their partner during these times. If husbands are less inclined to share their own feelings or to actively listen and engage with their wives' emotional lives, women can feel lonely within the marriage. Resentment grows from this emotional distance. It's the feeling of going through significant life events or daily emotional experiences without the person closest to you truly being present or supportive. It's feeling unheard or dismissed when trying to share worries, joys, or reflections. This lack of intimacy can lead women to seek emotional support elsewhere, or worse, withdraw and build walls. Imagine Mr. and Mrs. Lee. Mrs. Lee is struggling with the changes in her social life after retirement and feels anxious about a health issue. She tries to share her feelings with Mr. Lee, but he quickly offers practical solutions or changes the subject, uncomfortable with emotional vulnerability. Mrs. Lee starts to resent the fact that she doesn't feel safe or truly connected to the one person she lives with, leading to a deep sense of isolation. The implication is that emotional intimacy isn't a given. It's something that needs nurturing and conscious effort throughout a marriage, especially as life's challenges increase with age. This requires a conscious effort to prioritize emotional connection. Couples can schedule dedicated, distraction-free talk time simply to check in with each other's feelings without trying to solve problems immediately. Husbands can learn active listening skills, focusing on understanding their wife's emotions rather than just the facts. Women can practice expressing their emotional needs directly and kindly. I just need you to listen right now. Or, I'm feeling worried about X, and it would help me to talk about it. It might require learning new communication patterns if old habits were to avoid deep emotional dives. Re-establishing rituals of connection, like holding hands, cuddling, or sharing a meaningful glance, can also bridge the gap. The fix is choosing to be emotionally present and vulnerable with each other. Does the idea of focusing on emotional connection resonate with you? Share your thoughts below. Perhaps just type connect. Reason 3. Drifting apart in interests and personal growth. Over a long marriage, it's natural for individuals to develop different hobbies and interests. However, as couples age, especially post-retirement, if one partner continues to grow, explore new things, and stay engaged with the world while the other stagnates or becomes resistant to change, a significant rift can form. This isn't about having identical interests, but about a difference in vitality, curiosity, and willingness to continue learning and evolving as individuals and as a couple. Resentment arises when one partner, often the woman, though not always, feels held back, bored, or lonely because her husband isn't willing to join her in new experiences, maintain his own engaging pursuits, or even engage in stimulating conversation about new ideas. It's the feeling of living with someone who has stopped growing, making shared experiences limited or dull, and leaving her to pursue vitality alone. This can lead to feeling more like a caregiver or a museum curator of his old routines than an equal partner on a journey of continued discovery. Imagine Mrs. Chen, who is excited about taking a painting class and joining a book club. Her husband, Mr. Chen, prefers to watch TV all day and resists trying anything new or even hearing about her new interests with enthusiasm. Mrs. Chen starts to resent the lack of shared spark and the feeling that their world is shrinking because he isn't willing to explore it with her, leaving her feeling increasingly alone in her desire for continued engagement. The implication is that continued personal growth and shared experiences are vital for keeping a long-term relationship vibrant and preventing partners from becoming mere housemates living parallel lives. This requires conscious effort from both sides to respect individual interests and seek opportunities for shared activities, even small ones. Women can continue pursuing their own growth while kindly inviting their partners to join them sometimes without pressure. Husbands can make an effort to show genuine interest in their wives' new pursuits and share what they are doing, even if the activities differ. Couples can brainstorm new activities they could try together. Maybe a different type of walking route, trying a new restaurant, attending a local lecture, or learning a simple skill online together. It's about finding common ground or simply being supportive of each other's vitality. The fix is a mutual commitment to not stagnate and to support each other's individual and shared journeys of growth. Reason 4. The weight of unresolved conflicts and poor communication. Every marriage has disagreements, but in long-term relationships where conflict avoidance or poor communication patterns are the norm, issues don't disappear. They go underground and morph into resentment. Over decades, these unresolved hurts, misunderstandings, and unvoiced needs accumulate. What might have been a minor annoyance 20 years ago becomes a heavy burden of, "He never listened," or "We never talked about that" in later life, especially when spending more time together brings underlying tensions to the surface. Resentment festers in the silence and the lack of resolution. It's the feeling of carrying a bag full of old, heavy stones. Each stone a past argument that was never truly settled, a feeling that was never expressed, a need that was never met because it wasn't communicated effectively. This leads to cynicism, a lack of trust that issues can be resolved, and a hardening of the heart towards the partner. Poor communication isn't just annoying. It starves the relationship of the oxygen needed to clear the air and maintain emotional health. Imagine Mr. and Mrs. Kim. Anytime a conflict arose over the years, Mr. Kim would withdraw, and Mrs. Kim would eventually give up trying to talk about it. Now, retired, small disagreements trigger memories of decades of unresolved issues. Mrs. Kim resents the years of feeling unheard and the current difficulty in addressing even minor problems because the pattern of avoidance is so ingrained. The implication is that unresolved conflict is corrosive. Learning to communicate effectively, even after decades of poor habits, is essential for clearing the air and preventing resentment from poisoning the relationship. This is perhaps the most challenging fix, but the most necessary. It requires a conscious decision from both partners to learn and practice healthy communication skills. This includes active listening, truly hearing, and trying to understand the other person's perspective without interrupting or planning your defense. Expressing feelings using I statements, "I felt hurt when," versus "You always make me feel," and committing to staying engaged in difficult conversations rather than withdrawing. It might be necessary to set aside specific times to talk about issues calmly. If ingrained patterns are too difficult to break alone, seeking help from a marriage counselor or therapist, even for a few sessions, can provide invaluable tools and a safe space to practice. The fix is a mutual commitment to honesty, vulnerability, and the belief that you can learn to navigate disagreements constructively, clearing the path for a healthier emotional connection free from the weight of the past. Communication can be tough, but it's the bridge. If you're ready to work on talking things through, comment "talk" below. Reason 5. Feeling taken for granted and unappreciated. In long-term relationships, especially as routines become deeply embedded, it's easy to start taking each other for granted. The daily acts of service, the emotional support provided, the planning, the management of the household. All the countless ways partners contribute to the shared life can become invisible or expected. For women who often shoulder significant, but often unpaid or undervalued labor, both domestic and emotional, feeling taken for granted is a powerful creator of resentment. Resentment builds when her efforts, whether cooking a meal, managing finances, caring for grandchildren, or simply being a supportive listener, are met with silence, expectation, or a lack of acknowledgement. It's the feeling that her contributions aren't seen, appreciated, or reciprocated. This can feel profoundly isolating and devaluing after investing years of her life into the partnership and family. It's the quiet ache of feeling invisible in your own home. Imagine Mrs. Evans, who faithfully prepares every meal, manages all the household bills, and coordinates family visits. Her husband, Mr. Evans, rarely comments on the meals, assumes the bills are paid, and takes her organization for granted. When she expresses tiredness or frustration, he might respond with confusion, saying, "But what are you doing all day?" Her resentment stems from the deep-seated feeling that her constant effort and care are simply expected, never truly seen or valued as gifts to the relationship. The implication is that mutual appreciation is the glue that keeps partners feeling valued and connected. Without it, even dedicated service can turn into bitterness. This fix lies in cultivating mutual appreciation and acknowledgement. It requires both partners to consciously notice the efforts and contributions of the other, no matter how small or routine they seem. Women can practice expressing their needs for appreciation. "It would mean a lot to me if you noticed when I do X," or "I feel valued when you thank me for Y." Husbands can make a deliberate effort to verbalize their gratitude daily. A simple "Thank you for dinner," "It was delicious, I appreciate you taking care of that," or "I noticed you did X, thank you." Regularly pointing out specific things you appreciate fosters a culture of visibility and value. The fix is choosing to see and acknowledge each other's contributions, transforming routine acts into expressions of care and partnership. Mutual appreciation is vital. If you're making an effort to show more gratitude, comment "Appreciate" below. Reason 6. Navigating health challenges without sufficient partnership. As couples age, health issues often become a more significant part of life, affecting one or both partners. This can range from managing chronic conditions to recovering from surgeries or facing more serious illnesses. While caregiving is often an act of love, the burden of caregiving, especially if one partner takes on the vast majority of the physical and emotional load without adequate support or appreciation from the other, the one receiving care, or the one less affected, can be a major source of resentment for women. Resentment builds from the sheer exhaustion, stress, and emotional toll of caregiving, especially if the receiving partner doesn't acknowledge the effort, is demanding, or doesn't participate in their own care to the extent possible. It's the feeling of sacrificing your own well-being, time, and energy, sometimes feeling like a nurse rather than a spouse, particularly if the partnership dynamic shifts entirely to one of caregiver and care receiver, losing intimacy and equality. This resentment can be compounded if the healthy partner feels the ill partner isn't doing their part, e.g., not following doctor's orders, not trying to maintain mobility. Imagine Mrs. White, whose husband, Mr. White, has developed a chronic illness requiring significant daily care. Mrs. White manages his medications, drives him to appointments, helps him dress, and cares for the house, all while managing her own health needs. If Mr. White complains constantly, never thanks her, or is resistant to doing his physical therapy, Mrs. White's love can slowly be overshadowed by exhaustion, frustration, and resentment over the unequal burden and lack of perceived partnership in facing the illness. The implication is that health challenges are a test of the marital partnership, requiring a team approach, open communication about needs and limits, and proactive planning for support. This requires facing health challenges as a united front, acknowledging the impact on both partners. The partner receiving care needs to express appreciation and maintain as much autonomy and participation in their own care as possible. The caregiving partner needs to communicate their needs and limits, seek support from family or external care services before reaching burnout, and ensure they have time for self-care. Couples should discuss care preferences and planning early. It's vital to maintain elements of the marital relationship beyond the caregiver/care receiver roles. Finding moments for intimacy, shared conversation unrelated to health, and mutual support. The fix lies in seeing health challenges as a shared journey that requires teamwork, communication about needs and boundaries, and a commitment to supporting the caregiver's well-being as much as the care receivers. Reason 7. Different desires for social engagement and connection. As couples age, social circles can change due to retirement, relocation, or the passing of friends. Maintaining social connections is vital for well-being in later life. However, partners often have different needs or desires for social engagement. A common pattern is for the wife to be more socially inclined, desiring more outings, group activities, or entertaining, while the husband prefers to stay home, limiting the couple's social life and often leaving the wife feeling isolated or solely responsible for initiating and maintaining social connections for both of them. Resentment builds from this disparity. The woman may resent feeling stuck at home, missing out on social opportunities she desires, or feeling like her husband's reluctance is limiting her quality of life. She might feel like she's constantly pulling teeth to get him to socialize, or resent having to attend events alone, feeling more like a single person than part of a couple. This can lead to feelings of loneliness within the marriage and frustration over incompatible needs for connection with the outside world. Imagine Mrs. Adams loves attending community events and having friends over. Mr. Adams is a homebody who prefers quiet evenings. Mrs. Adams starts to resent feeling like she has to choose between staying home and resenting him, or going out alone and resenting his lack of participation in a part of life that is important to her. The implication is that social needs are important components of well-being that need to be discussed and accommodated within a marriage, finding a balance between couple time, individual social time, and shared social activities. This requires discussing individual social needs and finding a balance. Women can clearly articulate why social connection is important to them and what kind of activities they desire. Husbands can try to understand that this isn't about wanting to be away from him, but about a different need for external engagement. Solutions can include committing to attending a certain number of social events as a couple each month, agreeing that it's okay for the more social partner to attend some events independently without guilt or resentment from the other. Finding social activities that both enjoy, e.g., a book club for him, a walking group for her, a couples bridge club together, or even finding ways to socialize at home in ways comfortable for the less social partner. The fix lies in open discussion, compromise, and respecting each other's need for both togetherness and external connection. So, we've explored 7 common reasons women might develop resentment towards their husbands as they age. The unequal burden of daily life and caregiving, a deepening lack of emotional intimacy, drifting apart in interests and personal growth, the weight of unresolved conflicts, feeling taken for granted, navigating health challenges without partnership, and different desires for social engagement. The core message woven through all of these is that resentment in long-term aging marriages is often a sign of unmet needs, unexpressed feelings, and outdated relationship patterns that haven't adapted to new life stages. It's a common challenge, but it is not a permanent state. The good news, the powerful message from senior wisdom, is that recognizing these reasons is the first, brave step towards healing. It requires willingness from both partners to look honestly at the relationship dynamics, to communicate with empathy and respect even when it's hard, and to commit to making changes, renegotiating roles, and prioritizing mutual appreciation and connection. It is absolutely possible to address resentment and use it as a catalyst for deeper understanding and a stronger bond. The later years of marriage can and should be years of deep connection, appreciation, and shared joy. It's never too late to work on building the relationship you truly desire for this stage of life. I encourage you to reflect. Which of these 7 reasons felt most familiar to you or most relevant to your marriage? And which of the suggested fixes are you willing to discuss or try implementing this week? Thank you for joining me for this important and, I hope, helpful conversation. If you found this discussion valuable, please give this video a thumbs up. Sharing this kind of wisdom is so important. Please feel free to share your thoughts or experiences gently in the comments below. You might help someone else feel less alone. And if you'd like more insights on navigating life's later years with grace and connection, subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell. Your support helps make these conversations possible. Until next time, approach each other with kindness, listen with your heart, and keep nurturing your precious relationships.